Hi, everyone. It's Amanda Rieger Green. Welcome to Soul Sessions. Today, we are going to jump forward into July. July is an exquisitely charged and coded month, both numerologically and astrologically. I know you can already feel it. I am going to break this down into two parts because it warrants that. There's a lot of energy. July is not simply transitional, it is like a frequency gate, a portal. Things that may feel like fog are like a parting of the veil. Anything that may look like confusion to you is actually an initiation. I know that resonates with many of you. I've had plenty of emails and people reaching out, recognizing that they are walking through some sort of sacred initiation. And with what is going on the world stage, we've already talked about the frequency code numerologically this year. We are in a 9 year. It's a year of endings and drastic dynamic change. That change that is going on geopolitically, internationally, collectively, it's also going on within us. So the big question for you is what is being stripped away so you can really resonate with your soul essence and remember things that were never conditional for you. That's truly what it feels like is like old conditioning, old contracts are being stripped away, karmic endings, personal and collective letting go, surrender. It's an initiation through a disintegration. Does that sound confusing? Heck yes. Initiation through disintegration. The astrology reflects that, and the numerology does. I would encourage everyone to revisit my podcast earlier this year with Hannah's Elsewhere, where we talked about the astrology of 2025. Because one of the things that we highlighted that I now can feel more innately, and others of you are as well, is the nodal shift in the nodes of the moon. So the north and south node shifting into Pisces and Virgo. The north node is in Pisces, the south node is in Virgo. What that means, as a little bit of a recap, is the direction of the collective, the orientation. Like, think about orienting your compass to your true north, is in the direction of Piscean energy, and the stripping away is some of the shadow of Virgo, which is that perfectionism. It has to be just right, or that deep inner critic of ourselves and others, where everything has to be so perfect and precise. It's not about not being precise. It's about being true and doing it in a creative and mystical way. And I know that sentiment resonates because I can feel it within myself, and it's disorienting at times, yet it's also creating tremendous freedom within me and through me. So I hope that you are resonating with that, but definitely go back and listen to some of the themes we discussed in that podcast because it will be helpful. And also, my numerology and astrology guidebook, it's on sale. It's been on sale for a little bit, but if you don't have it, it's a really good step-by-step, play-by-play of the astrology and the numerology and how they work together with the planetary movements. Then it gives you touchstones and things like journal prompts and a roadmap tangibly so you can put your finger on it and reflect. And this month, July, it's very private and personal. And it has that feeling to it. So it can feel isolating, it can feel withdrawn, like there's an urgency to build and do, yet something is being stripped away and dissolved at the same time. So it creates both a stasis and a rebirth. And it is personal, it is private. So being mindful of your energy field, who you share your energy with, how you share it, when you share it, the stuff that is stirring in your soul, hold that sacred. Hold that sacred. Let's start with the numerology. So, as I mentioned, remembering that we are under the guise of this nine frequency, and the nine in numerology is the number of closure, completion. But as we complete something, it's like we're not quite stepping into something new, but we're dissolving what no longer needs to be carried with us or brought with us into the new chapter. And 2026, we will be in a 1 year, which is about individuality and new beginnings and fresh starts. And it may not feel super fresh and like fresh starts. And you may not even be able to conceptualize that yet because I can't quite conceptualize it because we are in the midst of this dissolving, yet there's this internal push and drive to build and do. But for me and for many that I have connected with, there's a stillness that is being born within us. Stay with that stillness. And that doesn't mean that it's a stasis or that you don't engage, interact, show up in life, but becoming more still. And that's a huge theme that Hannah and I touched on when we did that podcast at the beginning of the year. And it's funny because we could both just in the astrology, both of us were like, "Oh yeah, this is coming." Now I'm like, "Oh yeah, it's here. It's here." So just remember that anything that has felt conditional to you, that there was a term or an agreement or a contract that no longer serves who you are now, how are you disentangling that? How are you creating closure around the contract? And this could be karmic, it could be from lifetimes back, it could be a business deal you're in, a relationship, a marriage, the loss of someone close to you, a personal loss, a loss of a pet. It could be loss of anything. What are you losing? But why are you losing it and what is it making room for? What is blossoming within you? We are in a 7 month in numerology. And when the nine and the seven come together, it is like the hermit of all hermits because the seven is this mystical seeker. It has an inner knowing, an inner genius at times, but a lot of times that inner genius with the seven is honored way more than the external action. And oftentimes when I am in connecting with the frequency of the seven, I'm in a 7 year, or we're in a 7 month, like July will be, or I'm working with somebody who has heavy seven energy in their numerology. They are people, or this is an energy and frequency where they need solitary time. They need to go within and understand and put together the mysteries and have the genius, aha, expansive moments often and within their day in order to engage effectively or wholly with the world around them. So remember that this month. It's a month where going within on a daily basis and multiple times a day is really imperative. And again, that doesn't mean isolating yourself, withdrawing from the world, pulling the covers over your head and not getting up. And sometimes we need that kind of respite. This month has a respite quality to it. And oftentimes as humans, it is hard for us to take respite, to take care. When I worked in hospice, there was the volunteer services that I worked with often provided respite care for caregivers because of caregiver strain and dealing with death and dying and the terminal illness of a loved one, and especially if it has been drawn out, it's so straining and exhaustive that we get so mired down in that duty and service and sacrifice that sometimes is required in that we forget our self-care. And so oftentimes I can remember interventions in our interdisciplinary teams where they would notice such caregiver stress and strain, where we would recommend respite care, where the patient could be brought into our inpatient unit, or we could have nurses come in. I hear my dog Slim barking. So if you hear him in the background, there's a little baby deer walking through my yard. This sweet, I mean, probably 5-day-old baby deer running through, and I know that he saw that, wants to be friends. Because it's such a sweet energy and a sweet distraction. But we would notice back to hospice and respite care, we would notice the strain on a caregiver and recommend that they take 2 or 3 or 5 days for themselves to rejuvenate. This whole month may feel this way. And for many of you who are parents or you're in the academic industry and you've got real summertime vibes and you have a respite and you've chosen not to teach summer school, or you have true summertime and summertime with your kids, take the time to play, to do things for yourself that feel like you're taking vacation, whether you have vacations planned or you have a staycation or you make some part of your day like a vacation. With the energy of the seven, it can also be very cynical. And it really does come out, and the cynicism of the 7, I kinda love because it always looks at all everything from multiple angles, and it will sometimes default into the shadow side of things or the cynical view. And I think that once it looks at the cynical side, then it can look for the opportunity through the cynicism. So if you feel a little bit cynical this month, that's the energy of the 7. See where you can go deeper into the cynicism so you can see a new opportunity. Like what's hiding in that cynicism for you? I also talked about aloneness, and I've brought this up a few times, not loneliness, but this solitary solidarity, alone feeling. With the energy of the 7, one of the things that is my go-to is when in doubt, talk to your soul. When in joy, talk to your soul. The seven's first mode of communication is usually to something higher or something deep within. Meaning, when you are struggling and feeling oppressed or afraid or in deep concern or disillusionment, which may be a number of things you're experiencing, talk to your soul. Give it to your guides. Ask for their divine intervention and messages to come through. When you feel a moment of awakening and excitement and clarity, thank your guides. Talk to them. Remind them that you know you are connected with them. So, with the energy of the 7, the first mode of communication is something higher or within. It's something mystical. And then you get to connect externally with the people and experiences in your world. So there's a call to stillness amidst the storm this month. And for all the things playing out on the world stage right now, I would offer a mode of reflection around What am I being distracted from? What am I not seeing? What is the bigger picture here? What is not being said on the news? Really get curious. And that curiosity is going to be awakened even more drastically in the months ahead. And I'll talk about that shortly. But it will get rockier as we progress through the months ahead. I can feel it now. And that rockiness for me, in addition to what's going on externally and in the world, I feel the rockiness internally. But rather than going down or forward, it's about going deeper and not going too fast. There's this recalibration happens through that is happening through presence and being present. And I've shared this before, and I remind myself of this often. Where is my power? My power is now. And a good friend of mine says, where is God? God isn't yesterday. God isn't tomorrow. God is now. So, where is your soul and your truth and your clarity? It's now. And even if the circumstances in your day to day life, in your immediate environment, or on the world stage are chaotic or confusing or too much or not enough, whatever you may be in direct correlation with or peripheral correlation with, let it be, let it sit in your body and listen to what is coming up deep within. This is spiritual root work. It's not a month of fast performance. It's recalibration, reorientation, and it's allowing divine disorientation to clear space for your soul's knowing. Big stuff. I told you that's why I was gonna break this down into 2 parts because that's just the overarching theme and touching on the numerology. So a couple of things I just want to outline, even though I'm gonna split this into 2 parts. We've got Uranus entering Gemini this month. Neptune and Saturn are stationing retrograde in a near minutes away conjunction. They are just a little bit off of perfectly fused together, and that is disorienting in and of itself, and I will dive deeper into that. Both of those planets are basically standing still in the sky the entire month of July when Uranus charges into Gemini, full other electromagnetic energy. Mercury will retrograde, Chiron will retrograde, and then we have, the regular lunations. There's a lot happening astrologically. So taking it slowly and a day at a time is your best friend, your best ally this month. The first thing I do want to talk about before diving into the astrological roadmap for this month is Neptune and Saturn retrograding in Aries. This is massive because these two planets they're almost conjunct and they will not come together and fuse together until late February of 2026. So it's like they're about to conjunct, but they're so close together that we feel it now. They're all but conjunct and they're both slowing down and standing still in the sky the month of July. And they're heavy hitters, and they're heavy hitters from two polarizing expressions. Saturn is about foundations and building things and infrastructure, day to day routines, policies, planning. It likes tangible, it likes real, it likes productivity, it likes strength and maturity. Neptune is etheric, it's mystical, it's foggy, disorienting, dissolving, it's otherworldly, it's creative and loving in the most divine sense. It can also be crazy making because it's so foggy. So when these two planets of opposing forces come together, it's quite interesting because Saturn wants to build and Neptune wants to dissolve. So if you're feeling it already, which I have been deeply feeling this, the best course of action is to let it play out. See what is being deconstructed in you and what you're no longer available for, what you can surrender to, and then also what feels true in your accomplishments, your duties, your responsibilities, Saturn, and what is being dissolved so you feel that sense of truth. This is an opportunity together when these planets fuse, and they're both in Aries, which is about courage, individuality, our own sense of independence, our personalities, how we express ourselves in day to day life. These two planets are saying, can you build what your soul dreams of without pushing, driving, grasping, or escaping? Because with Neptune here, there's like a fine line that I'm seeing and feeling and experiencing within myself. And it's this fine line between escapism and solitude. And it's really funny because I would say in the last 6 months, and I had this conversation recently with a woman who knows me well and walks alongside me in my journey, said, I know that fine line now in myself between solitude and isolation. I know I need quiet and solitude and introspection for myself and my own divine time and divine communion. But I can also see when I slip into escapism or isolation. And we all know that, feeling when it's like, okay, I just got to watch some Netflix. I need to just relax and watch a show. Well, I can watch two shows, but it's really easy for me to watch eight shows, right? And we've all done it. And I'm all about a good binge, but sometimes I can see myself, like, just wanting to be lost and not wanting to be found, and I know that fine line where that becomes unhealthy, and it's also where I say no to social engagements because I need my quiet time, and where can and have the energy to say yes, and finding that balance between my solitary and my divine communion, and then my external engagement. So pay attention to that because this theme it's like an arc between now and March of 2026. It's going to come in and out, paying attention to your stillness, your aloneness, your solitary time, your divine time, whatever your self-care practices are, your self-nurture, and then when it's imperative that you're starting to cross that line and you need to be out in the world engaging. Now, some people may have the reverse of this, and so I wanna touch on it for those extroverted extroverts that are doers and going and busy and running. It may feel more scattered. You may feel more, like forgetting your keys or leaving your wallet somewhere. Notice if you're becoming absent-minded, forgetting appointments, like ADD energy, ADHD energy to its extreme. So that may be another experience out there where it's like you're going and doing and you have a ton of stuff on your plate, but it's like multitasking, doing a lot of things and not doing them very well. It's where can you simplify? Where can you slow down? Pace yourself. And sometimes for many of us, when we have a lot on our plate and a lot of responsibility and mouths to feed and people to get to and from and deadlines, taking a breath, just taking a couple of deep breaths may be the stillness that you need so you feel more grounded. And I want to go through some points that will be helpful with both Neptune and Saturn. Again, this energy very pronounced in the energy field. You could feel senses of directionlessness, disorientation, um, paralyzed in your purpose, even where you can't find your personal direction, your personal meaning, your goal, like paralyzed in it. It's not a failure, it's a dissolving of false goals, ego structures, outdated timelines. So, finding stillness, finding your breath, even if it's two or three breaths, may be quite helpful. Saturn is about form and Neptune is about formlessness, and they're dancing together pretty awkwardly. So be mindful of trying to rush your clarity, to help pace yourself, um, or be too far in the future that you forget your presence. Allow some new scaffolding to be built and emerge without force and more through your intuition. Another thing that I deeply resonate with right now is your identity may feel shapeless or undefined, changing, evolving, dissolving. And that's a big one, your internal identity, your external identity. And that's really for me, I've talked about it in the last podcast, how I just feel awkward at times because I can feel this deep change. I know it to be true and it feels deep and loving and real, but the external expression of it has not quite shown up in the third dimension yet. So we're also kind of walking between dimension, hence the fog, the veil being thin. Creative or spiritual callings may feel like both urgent and unreachable. And that is kind of the confluence of Saturn and Neptune, where Saturn is asking you to build and do something and create something tangible. And Neptune is a little bit elusive, a little bit etheric, a little bit just out of reach or too unbelievable. Allow it to be subtle. Allow the subtle direction to form because there's a dream within each of us and within the collective that is it's gestating. It's like we're in this gestation period in humanity. So be be alert in that sense. And again, that cynicism that I was referring to with the energy of the 7, it's exacerbated through this. So disillusionment and despair may be showing up for you personally or in what you see on the collective stage. So what looks like collapse might actually be some kind of sacred erosion. That spirit is removing what was built on unsustainable scaffolding or unsustainable foundations. Just be mindful and slow down your yeses. That's been a big one for me. I years ago, and it's like funny because this has like been sounding loudly in my head for a while, but I had a reading when I was 18. I've shared this before, I believe, but by an incredibly gifted, medium and intuitive, and she channeled for my soul, and it was the first time I'd ever really felt seen. I mean, she reached into my soul and reflected it back to me. And one of the things she said to me is, "Amanda, you are learning to practice hesitation in this life." And I have it never forgotten it. I did not understand it at 18, but I am learning for the first time to practice hesitation, meaning not stagnation or being stuck, but reserving my response before it has like, for reserving that response within me rather than reacting or just saying yes, really sitting with it and getting clear on my yes or my no. So Saturn It feels like right now we're all experiencing something similar, but Saturn retrograding is going to demand a different kind of integrity and communication. Neptune retrograding is going to clear some illusion and it's going to help, but it's happening now. We're not through it yet. We're entering it essentially. So trusting the mystery but also moving forward simultaneously. And I know that sounds really paradoxical. So surrendering to the mystery, but taking mindful steps forward. Okay. I know, again, I said I was going to break it up into two parts because this is a lot. So, July 4th, Neptune stations retrograde at 2 degrees Aries. Neptune entered Aries on March 30th. So, Neptune has only been in Aries for a short while, but since March, and we've all felt a bit of a change, or most of us, I say we all. Maybe you haven't felt a change in any of this, but I don't suspect you're listening to this podcast and haven't seen some of these truths show up for you. But Neptune retrograde will be dissolving aspects of our identity, our ego orientation, and false directionality. Neptune in Aries, it's where fog meets fire. Okay. It's like warrior mysticism, actionless initiation. I mean, let me just repeat that one again. Actionless initiation. It's like standing still, but there is deep inner movement. So remember, as Neptune stations direct, and like I said, it's basically standing still in the sky all of July. And as we enter into July, it's already been standing still. It's not disorientation, but we are being stripped of all directions that were never ours. And that's what it feels like to me. It's funny today I drew an oracle card for myself, and the card I drew, it's from this shamanic deck that I have, is the medicine wheel. And of course, the medicine wheel is denoting the cardinal directions, the south, the west, the north, and the east. And it's funny because it basically, the message in that card was to move through the wheel, but to be at the center, to be okay being directionless, but knowing that there is a clear center and a clear orientation. It's not confusion, it's the collapse of karmic and inherited blueprints. This is going on collectively, it's going on in our genes and our DNA, and probably for many of us, very personally and viscerally in our lives. So breathe, be still, honor this sacred initiation, and see what actions within you maybe feel misaligned with your truth and where you can respond and honor yourself and find your own sovereignty in your direction forward. On July 4th, same day as Neptune stations retrograde, Venus enters Gemini. And when Venus enters Gemini, it's fun. Like there's a fun element that comes to love and relationships, and we need a little bit of fun. We need a lot of fun, actually. But love and values and aesthetics, they become creative and exploratory. And it's almost like what we want becomes a little bit of a moving target because Venus is about values in the material world. It's about love and relationships and the aesthetics of things. But it can feel kind of like a moving target, like there's a lot going on. So, for those of you out there who are shopaholics or, you know, the overspend, be mindful because Venus in Gemini has a tendency, not so much to overindulge, but to in the moment overindulge and then maybe regret it afterwards or not really think about their budget or their pocketbook. And that's not all the things of Venus and Gemini, but again, this stillness that's going on because it can feel so disorienting with Neptune and Saturn. Be mindful of your distractions and addictions, things like that. And it's not about not indulging yourself or splurging on yourself. Definitely do that, but be mindful of overspending, overeating, overindulging, and then saying, oh, why did I do all of that? I didn't mean to spend that much money, or I didn't have that to spend. And then you get the guilt trip afterwards. So there's that. But also, Venus in Gemini is very flirty. I mean, so if you are on the dating scene right now, it's a flirty energy, and it can be a little flighty too, and not necessarily forming something. So you may have a handful of dates, but nothing may stick. And I'm not saying that for everybody, but be mindful, of setting too high of expectations this month because it is flirty. So just be flirty in life and let your longings change shape a little bit. Be creative and not necessarily definitive in that energy. And I love this energy for us this month because it is flirty and lighthearted and fun, and it creates kind of an air of socialism and romance in life. And that's kind of one of my big personal themes is I love the romance and the poetry of life, which is very Libra of me to say, of course, but I feel like Venus infuses that energy and Gemini amps it up. So be romantic in your life or be romantic in your personal life, like however that shows up for you. The big, big heavy hitter that we have on July 7th, which is kind of game changer energy, is Uranus will enter Gemini. And Uranus has been in Taurus since 2018. Think about that. Uranus, lightning bolt electricity. It creates, it destroys, it's electromagnetic. It's change your mind on a dime kind of energy. If Mercury is like a cup of coffee, Uranus is like a shot of espresso. Uranus is fast, it's bold, it's sharp, it's penetrating energy, and then it disseminates. It has been in Taurus, the heavy earth sign of Taurus that is about stability and grounding. And if you think back to 2018, and I encourage you to reflect back to that through this whole time period, since Uranus entered Taurus, and especially these last 8, 12 months, there's been a lot of disruption on planet Earth. We've talked about solar flares and solar activity. We've talked about electromagnetic frequencies. We've had so many natural disasters. We had a pandemic. We've had massive inflation in the United States. It's been, all over the world. Taurus rules, values, money, finances, and Uranus and Taurus has disrupted that. It's a very different energy than Uranus and Gemini. And Uranus enters Gemini on July 7th. With Uranus in Gemini, it's major because it's like the mind becomes like a lightning rod. The collective nervous system will be getting an upgrade, and it's like being electrocuted. It's like all these voltages of energy coming into our body. And it's funny because I was thinking about this as I was diving into the energy for July. I was like, gosh, this last handful of months, so much of my personal focus has been on my nervous system and regulating my nervous system, getting still, doing all of the practical things and the biological and physiological things within my body to create stillness, to really breathe through and process anxiety or different electromagnetic functions within my body. And now that practice is going to be imperative because if you've got anxiety, if that is something that you experience, or your body is super sensitive psychically, intuitively, energetically, and we're all sensitive. Some of us are have a more heightened and refined awareness of that. But this is like being electrocuted. It's like the paddles, in the ER on your heart. I mean, it's high voltage energy coming into the body. So that stillness that I have really, really been very pronounced about for a while is really the way through. And the beauty of this is there will be quick lightning bolt evolution in AI. I mean, and the beauty and the terror of this as well, let me say it in the same container, is the evolution of language and communication and education, cognitive evolution, sudden shocks in our mental framework and formularies. It's happening, but Uranus doesn't just take it up a notch. It's like turning the amps up, the voltage up on high. I mean, I was watching this crazy, crazy series and, it was some crime drama show, but it was a serial killer kind of thing. And they put this woman in a pressurized tank and they kept turning the pressure up and messing with her. And of course, like it was, I mean, her whole body was having a reaction to it. I know I sound, I know that you all know if you watch all these thrillers and crime dramas, but it's like, that's kind of what this may feel like the volume is turned up, the frequency field, the amps are turned up energetically, mentally. So don't get fried, or if you feel fried, and I don't mean that literally, but if you're feeling amped up, if your anxiety is high, if your body is just feeling disoriented, exhausted, give yourself the respite, that respite and that space so it can calibrate. Because usually, when the big outer planets change signs, we feel it the most at the entry point, meaning the month around the first degree or two. And Uranus is pretty slow moving. So just remember, too, that our hearts are electromagnetic. And we're moving into higher dimensional frequencies that are attuning our heart space and living and thinking and being more from the heart. And I know I sound schmaltzy when I say it, but I mean it. This is like turning the voltage up. So, for those of you out there who are energetically, psychically sensitive, you're going to feel it in your body. And pay attention to your body and your physiology's response. If there are aches and pains, what do you do to soothe that? Do you take an Epsom salt bath? Do you get a massage? Do you breathe? Do you do a yoga or a Pilates class? Whatever works for your body, give it what works, because you will calibrate this energy personally quicker and more effectively. So remember that. And again, I feel like my podcast, Soul Sessions, has truly been preparing everyone for this. And I don't say that lightly or with inflated ego. Looking back, even over the last couple of years, but specifically the last 6 or 8 months, really, there has been such a huge focus for me on stillness and listening to our body and honoring what we need internally and the value in the self care within our physical body. This stuff isn't linear, it's just pure electricity. So, being able to really give yourself the nourishment you need and give your body care, personal care. I think I shared this example a long time ago, but and I heard it from someone. So, this is not my original thought, but it really rang true. It's like, gosh, Amanda, what if you were to put a caveman or a cave woman into 2025 with all the cell towers and the Bluetooth and, the fast cars and all the internet and all the things that we have, their system would just fry most likely. I mean, their body, their mind, their spirit, it would be so disorienting physically, physiologically, mentally. That's kind of like what we're going through energetically in 2025. And with Uranus entering Gemini, it's like we turn the notch up on the dial a lot, not just a click or two, like we just amp it up. So be mindful and give yourself the grace and the space and the care that it needs. On July 10th, we have a full moon in Capricorn. It's at 18 degrees, and that's at 4:37 p.m. Eastern Time. This full moon in Capricorn, Capricorn is strong, leader oriented. It focuses on structure and responsibility. This full moon is really asking us why we think we have to hold everything together. Meaning, and I know what that feels like. Like, if I'm not showing up, if I'm not getting things done, if I'm not taking care of this, then what am I? Or am I enough? Am I doing enough? And when we have a full moon in Capricorn, where is the sun? It's opposite the moon in Cancer. And at the highest, brightest light, that polarity represents the divine masculine Capricorn and the divine feminine Cancer. So the moon right there in Capricorn is illuminating what you're still carrying that was never yours to begin with. I think this full moon in Capricorn is beautifully timed because what planet rules Capricorn? Saturn. And Saturn is about structure, and I've talked a lot about Saturn in this podcast, but this is like a culmination point personally, most likely, for structures to be dissolved. So the moon asking you, what burdens, what responsibilities are you carrying? What attitudes that maybe were never yours. So it's like a culmination, almost like a rapture in a way, like it feels rapturous. And I know I talk mystically sometimes, but it's the way that the energy field interprets it. And it's like it's expansive, but it's breakthrough kind of energy. Some practical points to consider during this full moon are really thinking about your boundaries and responsibility. Where are you over functioning? What burdens are you carrying out of habit rather than alignment? It's a great time to audit your relationship to productivity and success. Capricorn is an energy that emphasizes productivity and success. This full moon is a wonderful time to audit that, your personal relationship with that, and asking yourself, are my goals truly mine? Or are they inherited from old systems, old identities, old influences? Are my goals truly mine today? And how can you know that? It's about getting present. This is also a great full moon to complete any lingering commitments that you know have been coming to an end. So whether it's relationship, professionally oriented, commitments in your day-to-day life and routine that have become stagnated, outdated, or not supporting your alignment or inner truth or identity going forward, it's a really great moon to initiate that completion or to close something out. So lingering commitments and closing them, like, in a very honorable way with integrity, because Capricorn represents a tremendous amount of integrity, and that Cancerian energy of the moon is compassionate and loving. So it's soft and gentle, but it's strong and true. This is also a great full moon to honor your guides and your mentors. So whether it's your spiritual team up there, your guides and your soul and all of the loved ones you have supporting you and connecting to you, and also your literal physical mentors on this earth plane. Who are the people who have guided you? And it could be elders, or it could be a literal professional mentor, a personal mentor. It's a really great time to either seek out that grounded wisdom from somebody or to honor them in this energy. So I would encourage any of you, and I'm listening to what I'm saying as I say it, to reach out to the people who have influenced or impacted your personal development, your growth, your journey, and who you hold sacred, and tell them. Tell them. I'm big on doing that, and I don't always do it, but when when I think about it and I think about this energy, it's a great reminder to tell people who have made an impact on you or influenced you in some sort of way or carried you when you couldn't carry yourself, to share that with them and honor them. And if they no longer are here, if these are people and loved ones who have passed away, it's a great time to light a candle for them. Honor them in a very spiritual, reverent, and divine way. I would do that too. Last but not least, well, two things, and I'll wrap up this full moon. But it's a good moon to really tend to your body, your physical structure, your joints, because I feel like, again, with the volume turning up, it's a really good moon to stretch, to ground, to relax, to honor your body. One of the things I love about Pilates is we do a lot of work with our joints every time. I mean, we prep for the class in a way. There's always an appropriate amount of preparation, stretching, whatever you want to call it, warm up, so to speak, before we get into the practice. That's kind of what this full moon feels like, is really honoring your physical body, your skeletal system. Capricorn rules the skeletal system, so it's a good time for a massage or acupuncture, anything that can nourish your infrastructure, your spine, your bones, your joints, because Capricorn is about strength. And we need that strength within our physical infrastructure. And the last thing I was going to share is Capricorn is about destiny, legacy, the long game. So it is an exceptional full moon to revisit your 5 to 10 year vision. And the funny thing about that is, right now, for me, that feels super elusive. And it may feel that way for you too. Let it be elusive. It's a great time to say, okay, what is it that I am moving towards, wanting to create, wanting to manifest in the next 5 years, over the course of the next decade? And then asking yourself, do my daily routines, habits, behaviors, interactions support that aim, that goal, that vision? And being able to recognize what you can begin to integrate today, what structure you can start to build. And it may just be solitude, more quiet time, more stillness. It doesn't have to be a big demonstrative thing, but this is a great moon to honor your long game. But in order to do that, it's going to take some reflection on, what is my longer game? And not getting too overwhelmed in that, but it's like, gosh, what do I want to see evolve or come into fruition in my life over the course of the next 5 years? And what can I do today to begin to gestate that, begin to plant the seeds for that to spring forth into my life? So, again, I'm going to stop here, although, and this is pretty funny because on after this full moon, we have Saturn that will retrograde. And that's where I'm going to pick up for part two of the July energy forecast, because there's so much going on. And I know that this has been a lot of information, a lot of energy, because it feels that way to me. But I would encourage you to go back, revisit, re-listen, take your own notes, take what you want, leave the rest, whatever resonates with you. But also, if you do have the Astrology Numerology guidebook, definitely use that for some anchoring in and grounding and reminders of dates and transits. But take it easy on yourself and trust that whatever is dissolving and formulating simultaneously within you, it's meant to come through this beautiful portal right now that can also feel overwhelming, daunting, and frightening. But something beautiful is formulating in all of this fog. Be well, everyone.